All right, everyone, we will go ahead and get started with today's masterclass exclusive for McColly Real Estate. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll take probably between 20 and 30 minutes to walk through a deep dive into DigiSign. We do have quite a few people on the call today, so everyone has been placed on mute just for the best listening quality. I am recording this session, so we'll make sure that you have a copy of it afterwards. But what we're really going to dive into, as I mentioned, is DigiSign and how you can utilize DigiSign with your zip form documents you're sending out, other documents from your desktop or your computer, as well as just a few best practices about the DigiSign tool. As you have questions, please feel free to chat those over in the Zoom chat window. We'll hold off on questions until the very end of today's session. Let's go ahead and dive in here. All right, on my screen, I'm in the demo agent account for McColly Real Estate. Keep in mind, I am working in this training account, so things like documents might look slightly different for you. But when you log into SkySlope, you can access DigiSign in a handful of different places. Where we'll be starting is right here on the main page where you can see DigiSign. Inside of this section, we have a few different tabs here, but we're first taken into a completed section. Now, this is where all of our fully executed documents live inside of DigiSign. We do have a Sent tab, which is where we can see all of the documents that we've previously sent out that are still outstanding. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But we also have this Templates tab. Now, the template section is really important for you to save time when you're using DigiSign. These templates allow you to save the placement of signatures, initials, dates, anything that you would have yourself or your clients completing on a document. That can be saved for future use in a template. Now, with these templates, I have one here that's for my listing documents that I've previously created. We'll take a look at this prior to actually sending out our listing documents and using this template. Once we have the template opened up, we can enter in our name of the template, any description as necessary. What's really great about DigiSign templates is that you can share these templates with other agents. So if you work on a team and maybe one of you wants to create a DigiSign template, you do have the capability of sharing with other users. Here in the document section, you can upload the actual document that you need to create a template of. In this case, I have a standard listing contract. But on the right-hand side, we have a few additional options. Up at the top, there's the ability to add in a message and subject. That way, your emails that you're sending to your client when you're sending these documents, those would be automatically populated. Now, the roles here are really who is signing this document. And rather than client names, we're looking at roles. So we have myself as well as a seller. What we recommend is adding multiple sellers to this template. Let's say we add a new role, and this will be another seller. Then we have potentially two sellers, and then myself as the agent. What's really great about this and having two sellers is that if you're only working with one seller, this second seller field, all of those signature blocks and initials, those are automatically removed from the DigiSign document. So you won't need to manually place things if you happen to be working with multiple sellers. Now, once we move into the actual document, it looks fairly similar to when you're sending a document out for a digital signature, which we'll talk about. But we have all of the tools up at the top, and then the preview of the document we've uploaded. Now, keep in mind for the templates that we're creating, we can use old documents, current documents, blank documents, because what we're saving in these templates is not the information on the contract itself. What we're saving is these placements for different initials and whatnot throughout the contract. So I have initials here. If I needed to add another set, let's say I had that second seller, I could select my initial tool at the top. And a single click on the document it drops the field in place that I selected, and then I can move it around and resize it if I want to. And then from the drop-down menu, I have the ability to select who would be initialing in this section. Now again, these are the roles, so myself or those sellers, rather than the client name. So I have my first field. As I move to the bottom, I have the signatures and dates already on this existing template. But again, the first time you create the templates, you just select your tool you need and then single click the document. So that's the templates and really how you set up the templates inside of DigiSign. Moving back here into the actual section of DigiSign, what we have the capability of doing from these templates are a couple things. We can see the templates that are shared with us by other users in this section. If we had a blank document here that we wanted to send out to a client right from the templates, we could, or remove it if necessary. But let's talk about, now that we know how to create the templates, let's talk about how to utilize the templates when we're truly sending out documents. Right from the completed section of DigiSign, I have the ability to send a new envelope. However, when I'm sending a new envelope from here over to my client, the documents that I'm sending out are typically needing to be uploaded. So if you have documents right on your desktop that you want to send out, feel free to send those out here. However, what we'll walk through is how to send out a document from that zip forms section of SkySlope. So where you access zip forms is here in working documents. And then we have the tab dedicated to Zip Form Plus. From here, as we talked about in our last masterclass last month, we have all of our existing zip form transactions on the left-hand side. Here's one for Mr. Clooney that we'll be working with today. And then my forms within those zip form transactions right in the center. Now, after I walk through the process of clicking these document names to open them up and fill out the contract terms, I'm moving into that next step of sending the documents out using DigiSign. So to do that, I select these checkboxes to the left of any document that I need. And then right at the top, I have DigiSign. So this is taking those zip form documents where I'm typically filling out my contracts and moving into the workflow to send these over to our client for signatures. Now, the first question that we're asked inside of DigiSign is where we want the signed documents to go automatically. I have a handful of addresses here. What these are pulling from are any of the listings or transaction files that you have created in SkySlope already. If we select one of these files from the list, our signed documents will go right back to that property file once they're fully executed. I also have an option here at the top for no property. That's really when I'm just starting to work with an agent. Let's say, in this case, George Clooney and I were just signing his listing contract. So I haven't created my listing file in SkySlope. So here for no property, I move into the next section where I have that listing contract on the left-hand side. If there were other documents that I want to wrap up in this bundle and send over to the client that are maybe sitting on my desktop, I do still have the opportunity to upload those here. But on the right-hand side where we see our contract, this is where we're applying the templates that we just created. So for each document, we see an option for Choose Template. Once I select that, I have each of the templates that I have either created on my own or that one of my teammates have shared with me. There's that listing documents template that we were just looking at together. So on the right, apply, and then we have the ability to remove the template if necessary. If you're sending out multiple documents from ZipForm at the same time, you do have the option of place multiple different templates, again, so that those placeholders on the document themselves are in the correct locations. Now moving into the next section, we do have our recipients and signing order. So I have myself as the agent right up here at the top, and then my seller, Mr. George Clooney, in the bottom. Now, when I'm actually sending out this document, let's say I have an assistant, and I really want my assistant to receive a copy of this document once it's fully executed. I do have the ability to add a new recipient here. We can say this is my assistant, and we'll put in an email address here. Now for the role, I have the option of other, but type is the most important. My assistant does not need to sign this document. We only want them to receive a copy of the document once executed. So I have that capability. And then on the right-hand side, I have the ability to set up any signing orders. In this case, we have both myself as the agent and George Clooney in the Who Signs First section. That means that both of us can sign this document in any order that we want to. If for some reason I wanted to sign the contract after Mr. Clooney had signed, I can add a signer group and then drag my name to the Who Signs Second section. What would happen at this point is after George Clooney signs the document, it is sent to me for a signature. And once I've completed that signing process, it's sent over to my assistant as the fully executed copy. Now, George and I also received that signed document. But in this case, let's put us both in the Who Signs First section. That allows us to sign in any specific order. And moving into the document itself, we are seeing that same screen that we looked at when we were creating the DigiSign template. I have all of those tools across the top. So we have the ability to place signatures, initials, dates, maybe a date and time stamp. We can place writable information on this document. So let's say we wanted to maybe strike through a price. I could use the writable field with X's to cross through that price and write a new price. If my client needed to fill out information, I could use the writable field as well. And then we have a few other fields to place. Now again, I applied that DigiSign template we created. So as I scroll to the bottom of this first page, I see that there's already blue blocks here placed for Mr. Clooney. That was my seller. At the very bottom, we also have myself as the agent, the placeholders for me, as well as Mr. Clooney. But let's say I want to add something into this document, like a writable field for Mr. Clooney to fill out his phone number. Once I select writable and click the document, it drops a field in place that I can resize and move around as necessary. And then from the drop-down field here, I can select George Clooney. Now what that's saying is that this field is fillable for George. He's the one who will be adding in the information here. Now keep in mind that any fields that we're adding to these documents are not going to update our DigiSign template, but we can add things as we need to. Once we send out, we have our subject and message here. Again, if you include this in your template, it would auto-populate. Say we have our listing contract and a quick message for George. And then we can send for signatures. Now, right away, we have this little positive affirmation, woohoo, that was easy. And we have two options. If I'm running out the door and I want to sign this document later, I can, or I can take that off my plate by signing right now. And then I'm taken into the actual process of using DigiSign. Here I can make sure my name and initials are correct, select the signature style that I want to utilize, and then once I have selected that, I agree that this is a legally binding representation of my signature. Once I'm in the contract itself, of course, I'll want to do that review and make sure all of the terms I've added into zip form are accurate. And if so, this start option on the left, it automatically scrolls the document and pauses anywhere that we need to take an action. And a single click in that blue field drops my signature in place, and I've completed signing. Once I submit, I'm taken into that main section of DigiSign where we started. Now, let's take a look really quickly at the Sent section. Because right at the top, we see that document that we just sent with the listing contract. I have signed it. However, we're still waiting on Mr. Clooney to sign this contract. Right from this section, I do have a few tools available to me on the right-hand side. If I wanted to create a template of a document that I have already sent out for a signature, I can do so here. So that create template option. I can edit or resend the envelope. Let's say I misspelled George's email address. I can update that here and resend. I can also correct the envelope. So if I'm missing an initial field or something of that sort, I could go back and add that. I have the option to view a complete history of the signing process or just void the document out if I need to. Keep in mind that nothing can truly be deleted from this section, so your voided contracts will still live in this voided section here. Now, what I want to do now is switch gears here for a moment and take a look at what it looks like for your clients to sign the contracts. So in this case, we have Mr. Clooney, and we want him to sign. I can go to my email here, where I'll see an email from myself as the demo agent for George Clooney with our McColly logo and any message that we're including. And then here, George can review and sign. He can do this from his computer or from his phone. That's absolutely fine. But once he selects that, he's taken into the same process that we just walked through as the agent. There's our name, initials, and signature style. And then the start option, it just takes us to where we need to place our initials and signature, and it pauses in those sections. So for the initial, a single click or a tap of a finger will place that. I can place my signature. And again, here, this writable field, I could enter in any of the information that I need to. Now, once I've completed signing, I can submit as the client. And I have that ability right away to download my fully executed copy here. Keep in mind, this is also sent to me as the agent and to our clients in an email. So you'll know exactly once things are fully executed. Now, what I want to wrap up here with is back inside of SkySlope, we had talked about the documents when we first send them out using DigiSign. We have the option to select a property file where we want the signed documents to go, or we can select no property, again, in that first step of DigiSign. When we selected no property, the documents are still directed back into SkySlope. However, where those live is inside of the working document section. Right here, where your documents will go is into this personal document section. So anytime you select no property and all parties have signed the document successfully, the documents will arrive back here in personal documents, as well as into the completed section of DigiSign. Now, folks, I know we've been talking about a lot of information around DigiSign. We'll dive into any questions here in just a moment. But what I want to make sure that you know is that in our support hub, if you click this icon with the headset in the upper right, it takes you to our support team who's in our office 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. And if we scroll down just a tiny bit to the tutorial center, there's an entire section here dedicated to DigiSign. In this area, you can learn how to create those templates, the difference of writable and read-only fields, how to share your templates with other people. So there's a whole slew of resources here that have not only quick videos, but written guides as well on anything that you could possibly have a question on related to DigiSign. Of course, if you'd rather just hop on a quick chat or a phone call, you can reach out to our support team here around the clock every day of the year. But folks, thank you so much for joining us today for this masterclass. What we'll do now is we'll open the line for any questions that have come through that chat window. If you do not have any questions, you're free to go. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Again, we recorded this session, so we'll make sure you receive a copy. But have a great rest of your afternoon, and I will see you next month for the next masterclass. All right, it doesn't look like any questions came through the chat. So again, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. The recorded session will be sent out to everyone, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.